good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching from. Today, we are so excited again to come to you with another interesting topic. And so, welcome to Navigating Single Parenting. And today, we are going to be diving into an interesting topic, which is something that bothers most of us. Most of us parents, especially single parents, struggle with it a lot. And it's all about trusting ourselves and the choices we make as single parents. So if you've ever felt judged, unsure, overwhelmed, or doubting yourself in anything, then just know that you're in the right place. Grab a seat, invite somebody, have a cup of tea, and let's ride on. So for anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Peggy Barre. I am a founder of the Arise and Thrive Academy, and I'm going to pass you to Nelly to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome to another session. It's always a pleasure. My name is Nelly Kwasunwi. I'm a social worker, transformational life coach, and co-director for Hand in Hand Community CIC.
Okay, Nelly, I'm so excited about the topic we're going to talk today because, again, like I said earlier, it's something that concerns all of us. And before we came on, I was just painting this scenario that think about the fact that as a child, if you had grown and you were never given the opportunity to make any choice or decision for yourself, and then you carry that mindset, you carry that limiting mindset with you into your teenagehood, into your adulthood, then eventually maybe you get married. What is going to happen? Of course, you're going to give away your voice. And maybe the other partner may be that dominating person in the relationship that makes all the decisions for you. And then now down the line, you are left with children to parent alone. How difficult can it be for you to make that decision? So, Nelly, do you want to jump on that?
Yeah, this is massive. It's massive. And in our previous sessions, we have talked certain things, but this topic now is directly focused on how we judge the choices that we make.
Mm-hmm.
Being a single parent, there are lots of negative judgments being associated to single parents,
Mm-hmm.
which people become single parents for various reasons.
Yeah.
And like Peggy has said, from childhood, we learn that
Mm-hmm.
when we grow up, you get married and that's your life. But then things happen because we realize that what we were told growing up is
Mm-hmm.
not the way things are going on now. And that's not the way life is. So
Yeah.
when you find yourself from being in a relationship where you share responsibilities to then finding yourself being alone to make those decisions, not just the
Mm-hmm.
decisions, but you have the responsibility, not just of yourself, but of a
Mm-hmm.
child or children,
Mm-hmm.
it can become very overwhelming. Self-doubt creeps in because
Yeah.
when you make a decision, or choices, you might think probably it might go wrong, or even if
Mm-hmm.
it goes well, it might not go as well as if there were both people who made the decision. Because yes, it is said two are better than one, but
Yeah.
if one is not there, then one is okay. So all those ideas now will make you to be judging yourself. And worst of it is, if you make a choice or a decision to the best of your knowledge at the time and it
Yeah.
fails, that is where you are being judged because of the way our society has made us to think about failure as if
Yeah.
every failure is done intentionally. But it's not the
Mm-hmm.
case because we fail not because we don't know, but it's because of the choice that we make. And the choice is not necessarily that we made intentional choices to fail. But then it provides us with learning opportunities so we can do even better. And in parenting, there is no right or wrong way to parent
Yeah.
our children because we grow up, people have different parenting styles, but then it is to focus on the child. But a question might come up. How do you focus on the child when you, as the parents, you have unresolved issues? Which this takes us to overprotection, which that's not something we are going to talk about here because we've talked about that in the previous sessions. But then we make those choices based on our beliefs, and whatever we believe is true. So then for us to recognize that our choices might not be the good ones, we need to take a step back and start evaluating the beliefs. Are those beliefs ours, or are those beliefs inherited? Are those expectations ours? Are those from our parents, our family, our community, our society? How does that align with your personal values? So with values, we need to differentiate, because sometimes we inherit values and beliefs that does not align with us. So then we carry on with this single parenting already misaligned, because we want to please people externally, and it is having a massive impact on us internally. So we need to start making considerations to change. We need to focus on us. And when we focus on us, it's not being selfish. It's because you cannot give from an empty cup. You need to fill your cup and give from the overflow. Because, for instance, love, you cannot say you love people when you don't love yourself, though in most cases you see it that way. In that case, you will be showing that love because you want probably acknowledgement, validation, but there's a gap, there's a hole within you. So that is love that is coming from fear. And that is how the ego works.
That is so true, Nelly. And when you were talking, I was picturing myself, just putting myself in the picture and say, you know what? When I was describing that initial stage, I was more or less describing me, where I've never known when I was growing up. I never knew. Yes, there were times that I could make decisions for myself, but I'll be making that decision from the standpoint of fear. And not even making that decision, being confident in myself that this is what I want. And the reason why I want this thing is because of A, B, C, D. And as a result, I will either make a decision because I want to please somebody or it pleases someone. That's why I'm making that decision. And then it's just like the same. And then I grew up, even my own education. If I tell you I went to university, I did law in university. I did not go and do that law because Peggy sat one day and reviewed herself and said, hey, I really love law and I want to go do law. No, I went to law school because everybody was going to law school. So I couldn't really make an informed decision about me and really what I wanted. Now, fast forward, carry that same mindset into my own relationship, where you're told that you've got to be a humble woman, a submissive woman, and then that is where you begin to interpret submissiveness as if being giving away your voice. And so for me, I thought that by me just saying yes to everything, or just saying, no, you make the decision, or just say, I agree with that, even though I did not even agree with it. Now, all of that, going through all of that, and then now you're left with 3 kids. You have to make decision on finance. You have to make decision about their education. You have to make decision about your own life, where you want to live, so all of those things, Nelly, it was overwhelming. And this is where, as parents, whenever you make those type of decisions, first of all, you're questioning yourself, am I making the right decision? Is this right for me? What if I go wrong? Are people going to judge me? And you're always second guessing yourself. And that is the cycle that I've been like, second guessing yourself, on to the point where I sat to say that, just like you said, Nelly, when you get up and say, you know what, I've had enough of this. I've had enough of this. I need to learn how to make my own decision and trust in my own instinct without worrying what is going to go wrong or who is going to interpret that decision. Yes, let me make the decision, fail, and learn from it. And like you say, until we get to that point where we start rebuilding our own self, start getting to understand who we are, where is that fear coming from? Where is that doubt coming from? We need to go backward, and before we come back forward. So we need to go deep inside out, right? For me, that is what I had to do. I had to go back into me. What started the journey? That is when I started looking at how my childhood shaped me, the type of people that surrounded me, the kind of life that I lived, and all of that. And in that way, I had to build myself to who and the place where I am today. Where, yes, I can make a decision. I'm not going to be right all the time. And I've learned to say, you know what, there are certain decisions that, yes, it's good to seek maybe an opinion from someone, but they are just going to give you their own information, and then you can use that information to make an informed decision based on that information. But again, Nelly, it takes courage for you to actually, first of all, step forward to say, you know what, I want to make a decision on this thing. Can you help me? Can you guide me on that decision? Right? It takes courage, because many of single parents will not do that, because again, they're fearing that judgment. The second thing is getting to that point where you say, you know what, I'm going to make the decision anyway. Even if I make mistake, I will learn from it, so long as that decision or that mistake hasn't killed somebody. It's all a learning curve. So that brings me to the point where we are talking about making decision. And if we're talking about making decision as a single parent, it surrounds decisions that concern ourselves and decisions that concern our children. And one thing that single parents fail to understand is that they fail to understand the fact that they know their children more than anybody. You and I, we know our children more than anyone else. And just by us knowing that, at least that can give us some confidence that if I'm making a decision about this child, I'm making it based on the fact that I know this child. I see this child every day. I interact with this child every day. And again, what are the values that I've implanted in this child and all of that? So all of those things is going to help me to make that informed decision. So first of all, that first key point is having the confidence that I know my child better than anybody else. So if I'm making a decision for that child, I think that I'm making the best decision that is good for the well-being of that child. I don't know if that makes sense, Nelly.
Yes, it makes sense, Peggy. Thanks for that. You know, when you were talking, I was just thinking of it is really widespread now. Like when parents are in a relationship and that relationship breaks down, the way children are being mistreated because parents are having their misunderstanding, and they pull the children into this adult misunderstanding. Now, if parents don't take the conscious decision, be brave. If parents don't take the conscious decision, being brave and ask for help, they will not be able to detach emotionally from the other parent. Yeah. And when they want to make a decision, they will struggle. They might feel that they want to make a decision in the best interest of the child. But actually, it is from a selfish point, in the sense that they think of their own, the level of hurt that they have got from the other parent. So then it is not really in the best interest of the child, because they might want to overprotect the child. And this is something that I see very common, probably because of the job that I do. And you see children, there goes back to the decision making. So like Peggy said, it's for us parents to take a step back and start asking those questions. Like Peggy started asking questions from her childhood, and she realized that she became the way she was because of her childhood. Same as myself. I got to a stage because I was like, okay, just agreeing to everything to they say, let peace reign. But then I realized that within me, I was empty because I was so unhappy. But when we were like outside, it seemed everything was fine. But back at home, it wasn't, because sometimes we went for weeks, months without speaking to each other. And that was something that growing up, I never knew that. So I found it really difficult. And for me, when I started doing this journey of change, I reflected from my childhood. For me, I was, I would say, fortunate that I had a very good childhood, because like growing up, I thought my parents were friends because we never saw them argue. And both of them, if say I go to my dad and ask for something and he says that no, and I go to my mom will give exactly the same answer. So for us, me and my siblings, we sat and spoke and said, they are just talking the same things. So we didn't understand, and we did not experience that parental conflict until I got into adulthood and got married. That was when I started seeing some behavior. But then I had to explore those things and see where I gave in. Because similar to what you said, that fear, because what I was holding on to was my marriage. Because I thought that, because I've heard that in the community, when you are married, you need to stay married. But I had never heard that from my parents. So for me, I was trying to protect that family, my marriage, regardless of what was going on. But then it got to a stage and I was like, you know what? I looked at my children, and my children were developing so much anxiety. And because at the time I had the advantage of working in the mental health institution, so I could recognize things. And I was like, I know this behavior, I know these reactions. I can imagine where that will lead to if nothing is done. And I was like, because of my children, I need to do something, because what would be the point for me trying to keep on to something that is destroying my children? Because even me, I was struggling, because I got to the stage where I could not even discipline my children. When I want to talk to them, I would cry. And I was like, no, it was time. I had to make it a choice. It was a choice. And I made a decision. I had to start from scratch. But then I preferred starting from scratch. And there were lots of things that I had to learn.
Yeah.
From everything, from what bills, paying what bills to who, and things like that. And then managing my children, 4 children, single-handedly, and things like that. So going back to seeking for help, I sought for help. I called even before things were getting that bad. And Peggy, I felt rejected.
Yeah.
And I regretted ever asking for help. But in myself, I was like, I tried, but then it failed. That's okay. So all of it is learning. What we need to do is be open to learning.
Yeah.
Examine what you are holding on to. Because if you are holding on to something that is costing your peace or your sleep, then you need to learn to let go of that thing, because it's not worth it. And that's where decisions come in and choices come in, because each and everyone has potentials. But if you want to be controlled to the extent where you don't even know who you are, then you are not able to meet your potentials in life.
That is so true. And we're talking now in a hindsight, say single parents, and because, well, there's some people that decides to just be single parents, like, they've never been in a relationship, and maybe the relationship broke down before they became a single parent. They just willfully decide to say, you know what, I'm just going to be a single parent. Now, that is one category. Majority of the single parent journey must have been that a relationship had broken down, right? Maybe the relationship have broken down, and then they have decided to move on to parent their child alone. Now, we are talking in the hindsight that making decisions as single parents. That means that first incident has happened, and then we are in the second one now, where we are looking at taking care of those children alone. If anybody is here that maybe are still in that relationship, and we are talking about learning to trust yourself and your choices, I feel that this message is even more healthier to you than even maybe to that single parent. Because when in that relationship, sometimes we feel that giving away our voice is the right thing to do, but that is a very wrong thing to do. Or maybe feeling that we cannot trust on our own choices and our decisions, that is a very wrong thing to do. Because that, in a way, we are actually starting contributing to how that relationship is going to look like, the journey that it's going to take. It all depends on whether we have given away our voice and our power, or we are owning our voice and our power. Nelly and I will say, I don't know about Nelly, but I will say today that I always say that if I knew what I know today, I don't think that maybe my relationship would have gone, maybe I wouldn't have ended up as a single parent. I don't know, maybe fate happens. But I always look at the hindsight, like when I step back and I like evaluate my own self, like what is it that I should have done that I didn't do? And I'm not saying that to blame myself. I'm saying that to evaluate how far I have come, because I have learned in that journey, and I have evaluated that, hey, there was a point where I gave away my voice. Because when you give away your voice, you give away your power. People make decisions on your behalf because you cannot speak. And so if you cannot speak and somebody makes a decision on your behalf, who are you going to blame? Unfortunately, sometimes we tend to blame the decision maker, but we forget to know that we ourselves, we gave away that voice, right? So that is one scenario. Coming back now as that single parent, yes, maybe all of that thing has happened. You gave away your voice, you gave away your power, and then now you're left with your child and your children to parent. That other person is still going to be impeding, or is still going to be impacting the decision that you're making for your child, because they are still going to want to make you believe that you haven't got a voice, you haven't got any power, you haven't got any confidence, so you cannot make any good decision on about the children. And that's why they will always want to rubbish whatever decision you make for your children. I'll take, for example, when I left my relationship, and like you say, it takes courage to actually muster that courage to say, you know what, I am going to choose to leave this relationship for the sake of my children, or for the sake of our health and well-being. And it's not a cliche, because some people always say that I'm going to leave this for the sake of the children and my well-being. Think about the other person as well. Because when a relationship is so toxic, and the environment is not safe for anyone, that other person is not safe for that person as well. That other person also needs peace. So I always say that if you love somebody, you will love them to the extent where you will want to give them peace. And if giving them peace means you need to move away, so be it. You're moving away because you need that peace, and they also need that peace. Because the gap, that time that will separate, there will be an evaluation period for all of us. Right. So coming back to the fact that if that person used to be the one to make decisions for you, when you live as a single parent, they are going to be discouraging you. So that means whatever decision you make, they're going to rubbish it. Like I was saying, that there was a time that when I left in a time where I left around November. Usually school starts around September time. And during November, it's always difficult to get school placement, Nelly. And I struggled, and I got the only school that could give me school placement. Yes, the school was not a good school in terms of, but if you know how I was rubbished, just the fact that I enrolled my children in that school. That person was not looking at the fact that these children, they've got the opportunity to even be in a school setting. But they were not looking at that. They were looking at the fact that these children left a good school and I went and put them in a rubbish school. How did that affect me? Again, that started playing in my mind. I started questioning myself. Peggy, can you really make a good decision with these children and all of that? But I had to challenge it. Luckily for me, that time I had started growing and I started developing some courage, teaching myself, learning, how to. For me, what I said is that this school, all schools in the UK or all schools in this country, any child that if a child has an A+, even in a mushroom school, that A+ will still be recognized all over the country. It doesn't matter the school where they come from, right? So again, what am I saying this? I'm just saying that sometimes, again, what impacts your decision is the other person that keeps making you feel that you cannot make a decision. And this is where you, as an individual, as a parent, need to stand up and say, you know what? I'm not going to let your criticism or your badging affect me, because at this moment I am putting the interest of these children first. So long as what you're doing is in the best interest of the child, then yes, go for it. Make that decision, even if that decision is very uncomfortable for you and for others. Yeah. So
yeah, thank you so much, Peggy, for those points. Yeah, what you've said there are really, really powerful points, and it's something for us all to reflect on.
mm-hmm.
Like Peggy talked about, sometimes the other parent is looking only for the negative aspects. Sometimes they might intentionally misinterpret your good intentions for a bad outcome. Because for me, I feel they are coming from a place of hurt because they know that they were the ones who were making all those decisions and you were there just to agree to it. And now seeing you being in a place of making decisions, they feel really hurt, because when people use control as their own way to manipulate people or their way of being powerful, they feel really hurt when that subject is now wanting to be independent, and they will look for anything and everything that they feel they can use to crush them down. And that significantly impacts on the single parent who is struggling to make that decision. Because sometimes when the other parent is saying negative things about both of them are single, but I'm saying the other parent, so we make a difference. So one parent might be speaking about the other parent very negatively to the extent that the children.
Yeah, I'm getting you,
What's
Nelly.
going on?
You're still here. I'm seeing you. Nelly, are you okay?
Oh.
You are still there. I can see you.
Hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you and I can see you.
Oh, my laptop just went off and I was surprised. Sorry about that. So,
it's all right.
Yeah, so the other parent might be speaking so negative about the other parent to the children to the extent that the children or the child might get really confused, and the child might start misbehaving, or they might start displaying some behaviors because of confusion. And then the parent who initiated that whatever, focusing on the negative aspects, might use that to their advantage, that yes, I told you that you can't make good choices, see how the child is behaving, and they'll put all the blame on the other parent, not thinking of what are they going through on a daily basis. For instance, if the main parent has the child or the children, say 5 times a week, and they see the other parent, say 2 times a week, the parent who has the children less might want to prove that they are taking more care of the children than you, who is having the children 5 days a week. What my question is, why all this competition? Why all this comparison? And the only answer is that it's coming from a place of emptiness, of scarcity, because you want to prove. And that proving is a tactic that the ego uses, because you know you have always been using that. That's your power, but now it's all gone. So you see it that you need to be fighting to get it back. But it's because you are feeling empty. Instead of fighting someone who is putting in their best effort, is for you to take a step back and work on yourself, instead of moving from one relationship to the next and blaming everyone else. So it's you, whoever is making those decisions, focus on the decisions. Ask yourself, why are you making that decision? What is the impact? So that way is self-evaluation. Sometimes when you do that, you will realize that you come to certain aspects and you feel really, really hurt. Sometimes you might be tearful, sometimes you might cry, which is okay. Take that time, because that was negative energy that's stored in your body. Just let it out. Just let it out. You realize that if you let that negativity out and you return to that same point, you will be more focused and you will think differently, and probably the choices that you will make will be different from when you made the choice when you were emotionally driven, that probably you might take a wrong choice. But again, even if it's wrong and you fail, it's okay. My point is, what are you learning from there? Because if you don't fail in anything, then you are either pleasing people or you are being very, very careful not to hurt anyone. And like that, you won't even grow a tiny bit. So it's for you to, if you make a mistake, if you fail, it's okay. What is there for me to learn? And then you learn and move on. And it's the same with the children that you are taking care of in any situation, actually.
Yeah, that is so true. When you were talking, you touch on comparison, where the other partner is comparing maybe their decision making skills with yours, and they're comparing how they can look after the kids or provide for the kids' needs than you. That is one thing. And again, what we talked about is about believing in yourself and building your confidence to know that. And the kids are not, the children, they will eventually find out, they will eventually know who is actually giving more value and actually, being genuine about their needs. They will eventually know. Because again, kids sometimes, yes, they can be, they will accept your support just there. Their memory is very, I don't know how to put it. They've got a very short memory, like there and then they're going to enjoy everything that you're doing. But once they leave, that's it. They are with these other parents every day. They get up in the morning, the person cooks, they clean them, they buy their stuff, and those things it begins to play a bigger role or bigger picture in their mind, and they're gonna pick on those things as they grow. And one thing, when you talk about comparison, again, it's about one thing that can impact your decision-making skills or your decision-making ability is that comparison. Comparing yourself, not just with the other partner, but also comparing yourself with those around you, maybe your other fellow parents, or comparing yourself with what the society is telling you, what you're seeing on social media, what the other family is doing. And every time when you compare yourself, you start to look at yourself as if you're failing, or maybe because you're not making the right decisions. Somebody's success doesn't mean that you're not making the right decision. Everybody's own lane is different. Everyone's own path in life is different. Right. So this is one thing that when we start to compare, if I come every day and I'm comparing myself to Nelly, oh, look at where Nelly's children are. Look at what they've achieved. Look at what Nelly have achieved. Does that mean that the decision that I'm making for myself is wrong? Does it mean that the decision I'm making for my kids are wrong? No. Nelly has got her own path. I've got my own path. At the end of the day, it's about sitting and evaluating the decision that you made. Was it the right decision at the right time for in the best interest of your children? If that is yes, then that's good. That's good, because my decision may not be exactly as Nelly's own decision. So what am I saying? I'm saying that for us to be able to believe in our decision, believe in our judgment, we need to let go of comparison, right? We need to let go of comparison. We need to feel confident in the choices that we make, so long as they're in the best interest. Because remember, here there is a term called best interest. Best interest of the children. That is what we need to be focusing on. Is it in the best interest of these children? Is it also in the best interest of our well-being? Because we are the person that, as the parents, we also need to be emotionally strong, emotionally okay. We need to be psychologically okay, healthy, so that we can be able to look after these children. So that decision that we're making, is it in the best interest of the children? And is it also good for me? Is it going to affect me? So that is one thing. So I don't know whether, Nelly, you have anything to jump on that before we move today. I just had some bullet points here where, yeah.
Yeah, I think we can move to the next point.
So the next one we talk. Oh, what did I do here? Sorry. So the next thing we
seems as if.
Are we okay, Nelly?
Peggy?
Yes.
It seems as if it's not on Facebook. I'm just trying to look. It seems as if it's not. I think so. I can't.
Okay. You say you're having trouble.
It was on, but it seems to.
Oh, sorry. I don't know.
Yeah, because it's ended.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why that. I've got a message. This may have issue on the end. It's possible to stream ended or delete it on Facebook. We'll keep trying. I don't know. I don't know why. Oh.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, let's continue. Since
yeah,
we have it on YouTube.
Yeah, we'll just continue. Oh, technology. Right. So the next thing that we just wanted to talk about is the third point that I had here was confidence comes from experience, not perfection. Because again, that is something that we as parents, we need to know that you cannot learn. Decision making is a skill. Learning to trust in yourself and your choices is a skill. So you need to learn it gradually, just like Nelly has said, that it's something that you need to actually educate yourself, teach yourself how can you gain the skill of learning to make decisions. So it's a skill, and you will make it and fail. Sometimes it will not go all right. You may make mistake, but at least you will learn from that mistake. And then just as a muscle, you're going to be growing that muscle until the time when that muscle is strong enough where you know that, okay, I am making this decision. This is going to be the impact of that decision. I'm going to go with it. So again, it's a skill that we need to learn. I don't know, Nelly, have anything to add on that?
You know, to gain that skill, it's not just reading it off a book.
Yeah.
You experience it, and it is from your experiences that you develop certain skills. So if you avoid challenging situations that you want just the soft aspects or the aspects that you are comfortable dealing with, then you are denying yourself the ability to learn decision-making skills and choices. But then if you find yourself in a difficult situation and you say, okay, you are feeling nervous. It is okay. Feeling nervous is okay. But what you need to do is calm yourself down and you say, okay, ask yourself, what do you need to do? If you don't know what to do, you can ask for help. but engage yourself in making those decisions, because
Yeah.
it is by experiencing life that you develop those skills. You can read them from books. Yes, you know them in your head. You can write them down. But when you meet the real life situation, that book, what you have in your head, will not immediately turn into something that you can deal with. For instance, if you can see two professionals dealing with the same case, but one is very calm and just dealing with it as if it's a casual conversation or whatever, but they are dealing with very high risk situation. But then another professional with the same situation might be panicking. Okay, imagine how the person who is being supported will view these two professionals. They already know that the professional who is panicking doesn't have experience.
Yes.
And those are the kind of people they'll want to target because they feel that they are in a vulnerable situation. So I'm just giving this so that if you put yourself that you are the single parent and you see professionals coming to support you, and one is behaving as if they feel more hurt than yourself, then you already know that that professional doesn't have the experience,
Yeah.
and it will impact both of you on the decisions that you make. So
That
yeah,
is so
that's
true,
just what I
Nani.
wanted to add.
Yeah, no, that is so true, because again, that we say sometimes if we don't build ourselves that confident to that level where we can actually be able to spot this difference, it takes skills as well to spot that difference. And like you say, it's about learning, teaching ourselves, building that muscle, to be able to be confident in our decision making. Another thing that I just jotted was that we need to release the need for approval, because sometimes we always feel as single parents, especially if we are still shaky in our decision making, or we are still not yet resilient, and being confident in ourselves, we can make decision to please people. We can make decision to please others. Like, we may not, decisions that we know that is in the best interest of our kids, will not go with that decision because we are scared of the rejection, or we are scared what the other person is going to say. So it is always good to trust in our own instinct, trust in that gut feeling that, what, no matter how this decision goes, so long as I'm making this decision in the best interest of my child, and I know that it is good for my child and it's also good for my mental health, even if the other person rejects it, it's okay. We must not always seek for approval to make those choices. Yes, it's also important sometimes that when you make, especially if both parents are co-parenting, there are some certain decisions that is always good for both parents to talk about it, especially if it relates to that child. That is if the other person is cooperating, because there are sometimes that you would want to contact the other person that, hey, can we talk about this thing concerning that child? If you notice that every time you bring up that topic, or bring up that opportunity for you to co-parent, to make that decision, if the other person is going to start stressing you and start bringing in all stuff that is just going to spoil your mood, or even drain your energy, then that is when you are going to let them know that, what, going forward, if you're not happy for us to make a decision together about this child, then I'm going to go ahead and make that decision. And when you make that choice to go ahead and make that decision, trust your instinct. Don't always feel, even if that decision go wrong, at least you've made the decision, and you made it for the best interest of that child and for your own mental sanity. And even if something goes wrong, like I said, nothing is not, luckily, it's not going to go wrong in such a way that somebody's going to die. No, it's only meaning that maybe you made a decision and things don't go as you wanted. It's a learning curve. You've learned from it, and that's how you begin to build that your decision muscle, until you get to the point where you can actually make an informed decision. So yeah.
Yeah, that point is where boundaries come in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the stage, it's just a follow up of what Peggy said. When you
Mm-hmm.
realize that the other partner is using every means to drag you back to old
Mm.
things, that's where boundaries are very, very important. Draw their attention to that aspect, that that is not what you were asking for. You
Mm-hmm.
want both of you to talk about this child or that child. But if moving forward, they don't want to talk about the child and are bringing old issues, then
Mm-hmm.
you will be making that decision on behalf
Mm-hmm.
of that child independently. So that's where you put boundary. And when you put the boundary, stick to the boundary. And when
Yeah.
you are making this boundary, it should not come from a place of hurt.
Yeah.
It should come from a place of, it should be a healthy one. Healthy
Yeah.
doesn't always mean that it will be suitable for everyone, but it needs to be healthy in the sense that it will be in the best interest of the child, it will be in the best interest of the parents.
Mm-hmm.
Like going back to what Peggy said, if you love someone, then you, instead of continuing for them to get hurt, is for you to let them go, because that is the best way you can show love, instead of continuing
Mm-hmm.
in the same situation. So is to make sure you put boundaries in place, and those boundaries need to be consistent. Don't
Mm-hmm.
say this today and then tomorrow you change the boundary, you keep pushing it, because yourself you'll get confused, and at the end there will be no boundary in place.
Yeah. That is so true, Nelly. And another thing that we talked about that can impact your decision making is the way you talk to your own self. Like, if I start criticizing myself and start saying things like, um, am I messing up? Peggy, you're messing up. You're not doing right, or you're wrong. If I'm start judging myself and criticizing myself every day, that is going to impact my decision making skill. Rather, if I start talking to myself in an empowering way, like for example, I am making the best decision I can at the moment with what I have. That is an empowering way to say, you know what, you are doing all right. Everything you're doing, you're just doing the best you can as a parent. So if we learn to start making decisions, what about even our own personal decisions? Because that skill, decision making skill, may start even from making decision that concerns you as an individual. Like, what are the type of thing that I want to eat? Who do I want to be with? What do I want? All those little things about your own self. If you start making firm decision about yourself, and then about your own interaction and relationship with others, that is going to help you to make informed decision, or make trust a decision about your children, and being confident that you've made the right decision. So again, it's about learning how to speak to ourselves nicely, so that we can be able to trust ourselves and say, yes, why cannot I can make that decision, and I know that I can make that decision that will make. Of course, making decision does not mean that you just get up one day in the morning and then you just make a decision snappy like that. Most decisions about our children will be, you've taken time. Maybe if it's about their career option, maybe the school would have given you information. You would have had a conversation with that child. What do they want? Hear from them what they're saying. Maybe you're observing. We've talked about, you are the best. You know your child. You've observed that child. You've seen that maybe the skills that they possess, who they are, fit into that thing that they're saying they want to do. So all of these things, you would have gathered all your information, and then once you have all this information in front of you, then you can make a decision. You can help your child to make that decision, knowing that you've got all the information. And just like Nelly said earlier on, there is nothing but to also find a profession, seek professional help to help you with that decision. If it is a crucial decision, like for example, maybe that child choosing their career or choosing something, you can find maybe a career advisor, or find somebody to help you along, with that decision making. I don't know, Nelly, you want to say something on that?
Yeah, I just want to add that as a single parent, considering all what you are going through and all what
Mm-hmm.
society has against you or for you, avoid so much advice, because
Yes.
sometimes you might get eyes overload.
Mm.
Because if you go to one person, they will tell
Mhm.
you based on their experience or their knowledge. It don't take the time to sit
Yeah.
and reflect on their challenges. Once they know that this difficulty is coming, they talk to people. Imagine you go to 10 people and you say
Mm-hmm.
your problem and you get 10 advice.
Mm-hmm.
How is that helping you? Because you will be more confused that
Yeah.
which one do you need to take upon? And some now you might start looking at, oh, is my auntie, is my mom, is my dad, is my uncle, is my elder, is my pastor. I need to take. So all those you say that they are top advisors. If you take all day, say you have 9 top advisors, you take advice from your 9 top advisors, how are you going to put those 9 advice to solve your one problem? So you
Yeah.
see that you'll be filled with so much. But our body, ourselves, we know, we have the solutions to our problem. The issue is that we like to seek validation. That's
Yeah.
why we go to someone to ask for help. I remember, I'll share my situation. There was a time that was the peak of my life. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew the decision that I wanted to
Mm.
take. But then all these thoughts were coming to mind that how am I going to start with children? Not in short, I knew I was
Yeah.
going to start from the beginning. But
Yeah.
then I just wanted someone to give me that clarity or to
Yeah.
say, that is okay. That's the
Yeah.
right thing. So I got professional help at the time, and it was counseling at the time. They didn't give
Yeah.
me any answers. But as the discussion was going, I was getting clarity because I already knew that that was the decision I wanted to take. But it
Yeah.
is reflecting back that I realized that at that time I was seeking reassurance from anyone. And my counselor, she dealt with the situation really well because they don't give you answers. You explore the answers yourself because you have all the answers within you.
Yeah.
So it is okay to take some time back or seek professional help or limit the people you go to for advice. If because even if you go get the advice, you are the one to make that last decision. You
Exactly.
cannot make the last decision when there's just so much noise. You make that decision when you are in a calm state of mind, and you need to
Mm.
create that time. You need to
Yeah.
create that space for yourself. And just going to what Peggy said, you need to start monitoring those self talks. What do you
Yeah.
tell yourself? Because we talk to ourselves more than we talk to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Start monitoring. When you are talking to yourself, which voice is that? Because sometimes those voices could be, say, your teacher, your mom, your dad, your uncle. It might be some other person. Once you start identifying that those negative voices are from certain people, it is the hurt that they hurt you that is still going on. You can seek support to deal with that. You cannot change the past. No one can change the past, but we can work on ourselves to
Mm.
reduce the feeling that we have with the past.
Mm.
The feeling will be there, but it will be reduced. It's like Peggy and myself, we've gone through a lot.
Mm.
Initially, before talking, out of myself, I would cry because it was too
Mm.
much. But because I've grown a lot,
Yeah.
Now I can talk without crying on this particular topic because
Yeah.
that's just how life is. And now that is me detaching that feeling from my past. I still
Yeah.
remember everything in the past, but is the difference is how I feel
Yeah.
about the past. And that is where, like for coaching, that is what we do in coaching to help people. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
the past has happened. No one, no matter what you do, you cannot change it. Some people try to suppress it, just not to think about it, but that's not a solution because it will keep coming. But now dealing with it, you know that yes, it's there, but how does it impact you? We talk about
Yeah.
it now, and that emotional attachment is not the same. So
Yeah.
it's skills that we need to be learning, and it will also impact you in your decision making and the choices that you make, because instead
Yeah.
of making emotional choices, you will make choices that are empowering, that are purposeful, that are intentional, instead of
Mm-hmm.
just making a decision because, oh, you hurt me, I will hurt you back. And no, that
Yeah.
one, it's clear indication that you haven't healed, because
Yeah.
if you heal, you'll just be looking at certain things and it's just worth smiling and just
Yeah.
let go.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's when you grow bigger. When you start looking, when you get to a point where you think about the past and you just smile, that means you've grown. You've come so far, right? You've come so far, and you look at the past and you say like, oh wow. Sometimes when I even think about something, I will laugh and I was like, Chai, you this Peggy, even you yourself, you gonna. So you make it a joke. You turn into a joke. Doesn't mean that it didn't hurt. It hurt at the time, but when you've healed, that's how you begin to look at it like, you know what, it's not worth your tears anymore. It's not worth your tears anymore. So another thing that we need to learn to think about is the fact that decision making is not just going to be a one day thing. It's going to be an everyday thing. And every decision we make, it makes us stronger, it makes us more informed, it makes us even more assertive, and it makes us even believe in ourselves more. So it's one decision at a time that will teach us that, you know what, I can learn to trust in my choices. I can learn to trust in my decisions. I can learn to trust in my own self. So it's a learning curve that as single parents we need to be learning day by day. And let us not be ashamed when we make the wrong decision, because I know that sometimes as parents we may get so busy. Nearly there are days that we get so busy that maybe there was a decision that I had to have made, and I didn't, maybe I received the email but I didn't read it, or I was so busy that I didn't see that email. And there was a one time my child, in fact, I still need to catch up with that vaccine. There was one time that he had to take one vaccine in school, but there was a letter that was sent that I needed to give my consent. I needed to sign before he could take that vaccine. But I forgot the letter. In fact, I didn't even see the letter, or I don't know whether they sent an email, I didn't see it. So on the day of that vaccination, he didn't take it. Yes, of course, that day I felt like I had let him down. I felt like, oh my God, why did I not? So again, that we've got to, when we realize that voice, like Nelly said, that negative voice that is all about criticism, we need to catch it, arrest it, and say, you know what? It happens. It happens. We can forget it happens, but that doesn't mean it's the end of the world. Think about the other beautiful 99 things that you're doing for that child that is great, but just that one thing that you've made a mistake, it's okay, it's fine. We don't beat ourselves over it. Yeah. So I think that's
Yeah,
all from
and
my
just
end.
to
Yeah.
finalize that,
Yeah.
yeah, just to finalize that, just know we've talked about trusting yourself and your choices. When you trust yourself, it doesn't mean that you will not have struggles. It doesn't mean
Mm,
that you won't come across challenges. What this means is that you believe you can handle whatever comes your way,
yeah.
and you need to focus on yourself, like we have talked about. If you make a mistake, it's okay. What is there for you to learn? Learn and move on. You have failed, yes, but you have failed forward, because the next time you will not use that same strategy or whatever, because you have used it and it didn't produce the results that you wanted. So that's one thing that you have learned.
Absolutely.
And like we have talked and we talk about all the time, is it is brave for you to ask for help. You don't need to go through this alone. But again, don't be talking to A, B, C, everyone, because when you do that, you are seeking for validation. Rather, look for people who will help you. Look for professional help, because they are neutral and they will provide the support for you. Because if you go to your family members will give you the advice based on their own lived experience. But then how is that related to yours? Whereas if you go to a professional, if you seek professional support, they will give you a non-biased, they'll listen to you from a non-biased point of view, and they'll help you to dig into yourself and come up with the solutions that you already have, because you have the solutions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is so great. I think that brings us to the end. I think we've covered everything that we need to cover. So again, decision making is not something that we just get up. Yes, it might be from our childhood, but again, it's a skill that we can learn. So but one thing that we Nelly and I are saying is that as a single parent, please learn to trust in your judgment. You see that little thing called instinct, that your instinct where we always ignore what is telling us. We need to start learning how to trust in that instinct, that gut feeling, right? What is your gut telling you about that thing, right? And we need to pay attention. This is where Nelly and I have talked about where we need to make sure we have a conversation with our children, create an environment, because that is where you get to know your child, so that when you're making that decision about that your child, you know that, hey, I'm making this decision based on the conversation that I've had with that child, based on what I know about that child. But if we as parents, we're not bothered to know that child, not bothered to even have a conversation with, how are we going to make a decision that is in their best interest? So it all comes down to what we've been talking about. Have a conducive environment. Yes, it's not everything that child is going to tell you. It's not everything that you're going to know about that child, but at least do your best as a parent to make sure that to an extent you know that child and you can make the best decision for that child without being worried what the outcome is going to be. And hey, do not let the other party talk you down. Do not give them that right, that voice. Don't take your voice. Own your voice, own your power, right? To be able to believe in yourself, build your confidence, learn to be confident in yourself that, you know what, this is me now. I am parenting this child. If that person is not willing to co-parent this child with me in peace and harmony, then yes, I am taking the bull by its horn. I'm going to parent these children, but doing so knowing that you are doing it in the best interest of that child. So that was a takeaway for me. Nelly, I don't know whether I want to have something to round up, and then we call it the day.
I thought I'd already round up.
Okay. All right then. So thank you so much for watching. Unfortunately, if you're watching later, thank you for watching later. Unfortunately, for some reason, it went off Facebook, but we're going to download the video and we're going to put it back on Facebook or on our YouTube. You can find it on Nelly's YouTube channel. It will be on my YouTube channel. And please, like we always say, if you watch it and you want to be part of the panel, leave us a message, come and join us. We want the more, the merrier. So thank you so much for your time, and we will see you again in our next session. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.